Hi, Dennis Weiss, Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. We're in the boardroom at USD 435. We have the new Superintendent, Greg Brown, but you're not so new.
No, I'm not.
You look a little used.
Well, you know what? I kind of like being called new. Yeah, old doesn't sound like it used to, you know?
It bothers me too, I gotta confess. So the public doesn't know, but you and I go way back.
We do.
There for a few years, we'd meet every Sunday at the pool hall in Bennington for a couple hours.
We did.
And my wife would take care of your kids downstairs and would go upstairs and have a good time. Yep.
Now, I suppose they should know that the pool hall was a church at that time.
I don't know. I wasn't.
It might be safer, especially for the superintendent.
I thought it might be more interesting for the first thing people know about you is that we used to meet at a pool hall.
Interesting would be a word.
They're going to be a little concerned that we have history, just the fact that, it's me.
Okay.
So, just so you know. But no, we do know each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we met in Bennington, at Bennington Bible Church. Yep. Your family, extended family, we're all musical, did a lot of singing, and it was a great singing church, and
we had a lot of fun with that.
We had a lot of fun, and it was a great time of life.
It was.
How's the kids?
They're doing well. I mentioned earlier to you before we were here that they're growing a little bit now.
Yeah,
they're all starting families of their own, so it's kind of cool to be a granddad. And the thing about having the three oldest ones as close in age as they were, they all have kids about the same age. So we went from no grandkids to 9 grandkids in a blink of an eye.
Has Spencer had anybody who could challenge his creativity as a small child?
I think his son might give him a run for the money. I do. And if he doesn't get it done, his daughter owns him. So there you go.
Oh, my goodness. It was one of our favorite things. Denise, Ms. Brown, would walk in with Spencer and hand him off to Elizabeth, my wife, at Sunday school class downstairs. And we would always so enjoy having Spencer because he was a constant source of both entertainment and information.
The information was nervous.
Yeah, that's what
made us all nervous.
Denise would go in and come like this, just, oh no, I don't know what he's going to say today, and we just laughed about that. But it was a very special time of life for you and me.
It was.
And we look back to it fondly, and here you are in Abilene, Kansas, still doing good work as superintendent.
We certainly hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us your vision of what you find in Abilene and what you want in Abilene.
Well, I've had a lot of respect for Abilene for a long, long time. My years at Minneapolis being close by, and then Hillsboro's pretty close by as well. So I've been pretty familiar with the Abilene School District. I've always felt like they've done things very professionally, a very, very strong school system. And most of the people that I met from Abilene were just really, really neat people, and that continues yet with our transition here. And as far as vision and goals and changes and things like that, the biggest thing would be not to screw it up.
Yeah, there we go. That's a challenge for us we face every day. Yeah. It's just that, we're so confident within our own skins, we can say it right here on television.
There you go.
Our number one job is not to screw it up today.
That works.
Okay, so I noticed the picture of your board on the wall as we walked into the boardroom, and I know all of those people.
Yep.
But I find it interesting here in Abilene, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the young generation who are all very important people in our community doing great things at the places of their business. And then you have some representation from the people who've been here a long time doing great things in our community. I look at that as a board, and I go, I don't know if you could get a better mix than that.
I think you might be right. Very, very impressed with their level of professionalism. It's been a real joy to get to know each of them personally, but even from the onset, from the interview process, I could tell they're a very special group that really have a heart for kids, and they want to make sure that things are done well. So, yeah.
So give us a little background. Well, I know your background, but give those guys in the camera a little background. I met you. You were working at Minneapolis, and that was a long time ago.
It was.
All right. What did you do in between?
Since the time you and I were together, I think I was a classroom teacher.
You were?
Taught math for many years. Did a lot of coaching. Most of my coaching was in the junior high arena. but
The best place to
the
coach.
best place to coach. You had great kids. Did a little bit of high school coaching after that. Kind of backdoored into administration. Had no intention of being an administrator. And my interview, I thought it was just a question and answer session about what we were looking for in a principal at the time. And it took me about 45 minutes to catch on that I was being interviewed. And of course the board and I at that point had a real nice laugh about it. And long story short, I became the principal there in Minneapolis. Did that for a few years, and my kids started going to school at Tabor, and 2 of them were playing football.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's look at a job that opened up there, and it's a neat opportunity. So I ended up at Hillsborough for a few years, and then on to Yates Center for the last 4 as superintendent.
Hillsborough, Marion, both Eagle communities.
Okay.
We do a lot of business in both communities. Tabor College is a very anchor client for us in that community. They're one of our earliest partners when we bought this area over here. Tabor was an early partner that held her hand up and said, we need some help, will you help? It's been a great relationship for Eagle. We enjoy the folks at Tabor, enjoy Mr. Glanzer, enjoy his brother here in town. So, you know, this is our town show, right?
You bet.
This is our town show. Well, this is who our town is.
You bet.
So you're the superintendent, I'm just a guy that talks to people on TV, but we have history here. Well, everybody in our town has some history with somebody. It's part of the power of the economics of small town America in Abilene. Oh, by the way, you have an I Like Ike pen?
I do not yet.
You do now.
There we go.
You do now.
We'll get
it's
that
against
done.
the law to not have an I Like Ike pen
Well,
in
I think-
Abilene. I don't know
think
if
that's
anybody
fair.
told you or not, but it's the way it is.
I think that's fair, by golly.
Now that one came right off of an Eisenhower employee out there because I forgot mine on a day of a show. So I gave you my spare.
I appreciate it.
I knew
Thank
you would. I knew you would. So, you know, we said in Abilene, and we have President Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, hometown here. Such a benefit. You have that great poster on the wall over there. Dave will get a picture of it on the way out with a quote from him about teachers and encouragement. One of the greatest leaders the world has ever known, who could deal with impossible people in a way that was totally unique. None of those skills are needed in schools, right?
Oh, heavens. Well, you can bet he learned them.
That's
here in
right.
Abilene
He did.
school system.
He did. So we face some challenges because we're people, not because it's schools or not because it's Abilene. It's because we're humans. We face challenges.
Exactly.
But you are, as a superintendent, in charge of what I feel is the most important part of our population, and that is those young people. And you have them for how many days a year? 180?
180 some days.
Yep. For 8-10 hours a day. That's a big responsibility.
It is. And it's humbling, is what I call it.
Good. That's a good answer.
There's great people here, and I've just really enjoyed getting to know the few that I've gotten to work with already in my second week. But just the collective hearts that I see to want to do what's best for kids is just really remarkable, quite frankly.
So we met Mr. Cooper on the way in,
Oh, yeah.
and I got my obligatory joke in, Chris Cooper joke in. But he's a great example of a person who has demonstrated heart for children, including the difficult parts of children, being an administrator, the manager of process, which process isn't nearly as much fun as teaching, right? Process. So, you know, but process is important for the future of our children, says Dwight David Eisenhower over there.
Yep. You're right.
All right, so education. What does, other than raising Spencer and friends, what does Greg Brown have to bring to Abilene? This is important, that when I leave here, you will know that Greg Brown left this for children in Abilene.
Well, I think, you know, I kind of smarted off about not screwing it up, but there is a lot of truth to that. The Abilene school system has done a remarkable job of establishing a system of support for all kids, for all kids to learn, and that's a district-wide focus and effort. MTSS are the letters there, and that really drew me to the Abilene district. I've got some experience in that arena. Really saw some really powerful things happen for kids in their learning during the time that I was in Hillsborough, and got to visit with Chris even during those years. So having an understanding of what that is and protecting that as the superintendent, I think, is very important. Accreditation is changing quite a little bit across the state, and they're good changes. It's kind of a focus on truly what's going to happen for kids in their future, encouraging kids to have an imagination for what they, we've asked kids our whole lives, what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, there's a much greater intentionality with that question now in the education arena.
I think that's a good thing. Your opinion?
It is a very good thing.
Yeah.
But in doing some of those intentional things to encourage kids to take a look at career and college readiness, we need to make sure that systemically we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need to make sure that we continue to do the great things that we're already doing.
So I think you have to be happy and healthy before you're very successful.
Yep.
And we have had the privilege in this country, and where we've lived in this country certainly, of assuming that happy and healthy shows up every morning in our classroom. Well, large part of the time in our life, happy and healthy was assumed. Well, as we look at modern schools, we see that burdens have been shifted to schools, that happy and healthy doesn't necessarily come in the door in the morning.
Right.
And your task, because they're there, with helping children be happy and healthy, not just math, but happy and healthy, is part of the agenda here.
It is. Families they have so many challenges. It just seems like those challenges become bigger and bigger all the time. And sometimes that gets in the way of the kiddos' happiness, I guess, and health. And schools are here to help the kids, help the families. So, yeah.
Over the years, I have done this through schools, went to a few, just like you, of course, but got out of college, went back to my hometown in Colorado, and two things became apparent to me as a just adult, right? So I saw it as a kid, but as a just adult, it seemed like it just stood out in a glaring fashion. And one is that better leadership means the community has to be involved. If you want better leadership in your schools, the community has to be involved. We're sitting in a room of empty chairs right at the moment, but this is leadership of the community being involved.
You bet.
But inside the schools, there's a constant need for that. So, I wasn't a teacher. That wasn't what I was educated to do, and wasn't the job I had. I was helping run our family business, have a business degree. So what I did was, one was a really good thing. I volunteered to coach and coached 2 or 3 sports. The other one was to run for a school board position that was open at the age of 21. That was an education.
I bet it was.
That was an education. On one side, very enlightening and very hopeful. On the other side, just full of, you got to deal with people in a way that makes you wonder about the future of America. But without these people doing that hard work, we can't move forward in the way that Mr. Eisenhower says on the wall we should about with our precious national resources. It takes a lot of work from people in the community to make schools work. It's not just all your job, I guess, is the summation of that whole double paragraph.
Yep. And truly, my responsibility is to support all of those leaders. We were working with, Chris and I were talking about coming back to school here in a few weeks, and what should we be preparing for? And one of the comments that he made was that so many of our teachers have a piece of the leadership in every school system, in every school building in our system, that it's really kind of refreshing to see everybody collaborate together to make some really cool things happen as a team. So.
I'm going to go on a blank on a name, but I'll think of it maybe as I go through. But couple of years ago, I heard about something in the middle school here that so impressed me, that there was a kindness initiative. I mean, by word, we're going to have a kindness program.
Yeah.
And Jenny.
Jenny DeLay?
Nope, 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 nope,
No?
nope. Your counselor. I'm
Oh.
looking for Dave for help. He's got nothing. I'll think of it in a minute. So, but anyway, it was out of your counselor's office in the middle school. We're going to work on a kindness program, and
Yeah.
I have a employee right now whose daughter is in middle school there, and she was on their kindness leadership council sort of a thing, and got kindness awards. I thought, you know what? I can't think of a better program than
Pretty cool.
kindness.
Yeah,
It fixes everything.
it does.
Because kindness says slow down, kindness says listen,
Yeah.
kindness says treat people like you want to be treated yourself, and we know what book that comes from,
Yeah,
right?
You bet.
So, but in a public school setting, kindness solves almost every problem
It does.
at every level.
Yep.
So impressed. Still can't think of the name. I apologize to you. I'm looking at her through the camera
There
now.
you go.
I apologize. I'll think of it. All right. But anyway, kindness is a great thing. And I don't know, as we look at budgets in the newspaper or
Yeah.
this, school funding this, school funding that, I wish that story would disappear. I really wish that story would
We
disappear.
hope that it has.
I do too. Because we need to be talking about students, teachers, and education,
Yeah. You're right.
not funding.
You're right.
I know it's necessary, but it shouldn't be the conversation.
No, no, it shouldn't. And the decision makers in Topeka have really done some good work there
Yeah.
in recent years.
Agreed.
And I believe that that ship is turning, and it's going to be a great thing. So.
How's Abilene? We're pretty healthy from my view,
Yep.
funding wise.
Yeah, we're gonna be fine. Over the weekend I did a projected enrollment worksheet that I play with, kind of try to guess a little bit as to what the enrollment for the district will be in the coming years, and we're going to be dropping a little bit, and funding's attached to headcount.
Sure.
So I mean there'll be some challenges with that, but I don't see it as being a really insurmountable drop, but just something to kind of be aware of as we plan for the future.
You know,
Joanne and I went to a budget workshop yesterday, and of course
Okay.
so we've just kind of started the process for developing next year's
I'm
budget.
sure you know all of this, or you wouldn't be sitting here. But you know, the community really responded to build new buildings and
Yeah, they
schools
really
and
did.
fix the ones we had, and added some critical assets to
You
the
bet.
infrastructure. I've always looked at that. We supported that with a lot of camera work. I mean,
Oh,
we just
yeah.
let you talk.
All right.
So, but again, when I sat here and I sat with Denise Guy and I said, I think you have a great story to tell. They went and told it. Chris Cooper and Denise, they organized all that and a citizens committee. But from the community standpoint, the community really responded to say, yes, they are a critical resource.
Yep.
Yes, this is reasonable. And yes, we want to go forward.
You bet.
We can claim as Abilene, we did that.
You bet.
And here we are.
Yeah. The community does have a sense of being pretty progressive, and that's impressive. So yeah, the part of the process that you described, the district has 5 pillars that they base their decisions on, that they've based their decisions on for several years, and I think that strategic plan kind of turned into a little bit of what happened with the
Right.
bond issue, from what I understand, and visiting with people, and it's been enough years now that we're talking about redoing that strategic plan a little
Sure.
bit, perhaps later this year.
That
So,
work never stops as
No.
long as you're still moving forward as an organization. That work never stops.
bet.
Tomorrow's always got challenges that today doesn't. Or they're different anyway.
You bet.
So who haven't you met here?
Oh,
You know every teacher's first, middle
Oh,
name,
my
and their
goodness.
social security number just
Yeah.
in case you need it.
I have enough. 4 kids and 9 grandkids. I'm doing good to remember all of their names like I should. So that's going to be it'll be a real challenge. But working on that.
Yeah.
I think I've got most of the people that work in this building now.
Well, it's kind of hard when you start in July, right?
It
So the
is.
school's
It is
not
for
in
the
place, and the teachers are still out doing what they do in the summer, painting houses for extra money and doing
yeah.
all the things that people choose to do. Well, when they're in their building and you can walk by and
You
see
bet.
them in their setting, that's when the names will stick.
I hope so.
Yeah, it will. It's always that way. You know what that finger he did like this?
I'm assuming-
That does not mean two of the best looking guys he's ever had on camera, Greg. It means nope. It means we have
Well,
2 minutes
He'd
to
probably
say
have
goodbye.
to be in front.
Yeah, he would.
If
he
he's
would.
gonna go
I
with the-
cannot get him in front of the camera. I'm thinking about having a mirror behind me someday.
There you go.
But he looks for that. So Greg Brown, Superintendent of USD 435. My goodness.
That's kind of the way I feel sometimes.
Yes,
My
I'll bet it
goodness.
is.
Yeah.
So glad really to have you and Denise in the community.
Well, we're excited.
I am looking forward to Spencer and Cousins get
Oh, yeah.
together like you talked about. I want to be invited to that.
Oh, you'll have to.
I have
Yeah.
to be. That will be more fun than the law allows.
Yeah,
without a
cousin
doubt.
camp is something special. You bet.
Okay, Brown Cousin Camp in Abilene, Kansas, America. Looking
right.
forward to it. Thanks for your time today, Greg.
All righty. Thank you, and thank you.
I'm Dennis Weiss. I work for Eagle Communications. Greg Brown, he works for you. You have a
bet.
great day.